Hi guys, this is RG with Six Logistics. Today we are going to be talking about skidded coils, and you can see the 4 stacks of skidded coils there behind me. But want to talk about the way that it is being secured. So um, the load in itself weighs roughly 40,000 pounds. But let's look at all the securement that Scott has on it. So on that first stack, he has 3 chains. The one immediately behind 2, again, the one there in the middle, another 2, and then the last one has 2 as well. So in total, Scott is utilizing 9 chains on a load, so roughly 90,000 pounds worth of securement on a load that is roughly 45,000 plus or minus pounds. The reason Scott has 3 chains there in the very front is, as we've discussed in other videos, that very first stack of whatever you're hauling, and in this case, it's obviously skidded coils, it is the stack that is blocking the other 3 from possibly pushing forward or moving forward. So the reason he has additional securement on there is that he is trying to eliminate any possibility of a load shift, again, coming forward. So that's why he has, again, the 3 in a star pattern. And our red binder also shows you securing a load exactly in this fashion. 3 on the front, 2 on the all others. Now, another way to possibly do it in a way that I did it very often is I generally had 3 on my first stack. But then depending on the weight of the skidded coils or the stack of skidded coils, I would generally only have 1 chain going across the middle. So like you have from just purely from, there it is, from right to left, right there in the middle of it. And now, if my second stack weighed, and again, I am making up a number, but let's say it weighed 15,000 pounds, then I would have 2 chains on it. So again, the weight of the load is very critical, or the weight of not only the load, but also each stack of the load is also very critical in understanding, how much securement you possibly need for each section. So again, I don't know exactly what each stack weighed here, but in the way that Scott did it, you will never go wrong again by having too much securement on. Again, Scott has 90,000 pounds for a 45,000 pound load. He's not wrong. Okay, he has roughly 45,000 pounds, or double the weight of the load securement on there, right? By being smart, you will always be safe. Having too much of DOT has never once stopped the driver and said, you know what, sir, you have too much securement on there, I'm going to give you a ticket. Never happened. You will, though, get in trouble if you don't have enough securement on. So that's, again, where, if you have 3 on the front, 1 singles on the back, and then I would usually put 2 on the very back, again, locking in my load. But in this case, he has 3 on the front, 2, 2, and 2. I'm going to show you another image here, if I can. And again, you can see his first stack has 3 chains on it. And the kind of the crisscross pattern that he has. He also has the metal edge protectors up top, which is also very good and very helpful to ensure that he gets the chains even that much tighter, so it's not catching on an edge. And then I want to show you one last image. Now, you may wonder, why is he using blankets to cover his skidded coils? Now, he is not using the blankets to keep the load warm or to keep the skidded coils warm. What he's actually doing, he's thrown the blankets on the skidded coils to protect his tarp from possibly being ripped. Now, he has blankets on each stack. Now, again, as each stack is possibly different in height, that's why you want to do that. Sometimes, again, what you want to do is, a lot of times you'll see it just on the front and on the very back. Again, assuming it's a fairly level load and you don't have a lot of height differences. But again, he's not using the blankets to keep the load warm. He is, again, keeping it putting them on there to keep his tarps from ripping on the sharp edges. And again, a lot of times they'll have that very thin layer of almost like a wax paper or even like a cardboard. That is not enough, guys. The reason we give our team blankets, and generally somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 8 blankets, possibly more if they need them, is, again, to ensure that our tarps are not getting ripped. Again, a tarp is roughly $400. per tarp. And again, a blanket is $6, $7, $8 or whatever it may be. And again, it just helps ensure that those sharp edges aren't going to poke through and rip a $400 tarp. So again, guys, these are just some of the ways on how you properly secure skidded coils. One last thing, when you are securing them with your chain binders, and your chain binder is right there, obviously you want the screw part of the chain binder taken all the way out so you have as much to kind of get as tight. But one thing with binders is you don't stop once the chain binder is there, there's a little toughness in getting it tighter. You continue to bind until you can't bind anymore, until it's so hard that you can't, even with your entire body weight, you're not getting any more turns in your chain binder. That's when your chains are tight. Not just it's a little tough and I can keep going, and you stop. No, you keep going until you can't go anymore. That's when you know your load is completely secured, and then your chains are as tight as they possibly can be. Because the other part of that is, again, this photo was actually from a week or two ago. The other part of that is he's loading inside of a facility, which is, again, I'm making up numbers, but it's 60 degrees inside the building, but it's 10 degrees outside. That load is going to shrink. And as it shrinks, your chains or your securement are going to get loose. This, again, is why we need to stop and double check. But again, if you've really cranked down on those chain binders as much as you can, again, you can possibly still get some looseness, but it's not going to be to the effect that your chain is actually loose. So you crank down until your entire body weight is not moving that chain binder. And again, it just kind of helps ensure that your load is tight and secure. The last piece about chain binding is a little dab of oil goes a very, very long way. It helps ensure that the mechanical operation of that chain binder is smooth and it's loose and it gets as tight as possible. And again, just a dab of oil will do that. You don't need to soak them. You don't need to go crazy with it. A little dab of oil every time you use it ensures that the proper working operation of that chain binder does what it needs to do. So again, guys, this is RG with Six Logistics talking about skidded coils today. Remember, as always, be smart and you'll be safe. Thank you, guys. Be good. Bye-bye.